Guess what? I got a new camera. Look at all those pores. Hey everyone, it's me, back from recovery after spending 3 straight months of my life working on a video about mutant superheroes. And in this vulnerable state, I was primed and ready to be swept up into the swaths of an old childhood interest of mine's glorious return. So today, let's talk about an animated kids show for Disney. Well, kids show. For the uninitiated, Gravity Falls was an animated Disney Channel show that followed the Pines family, Dipper, Mabel, and their Grunkle Stan, as they unraveled the mysteries of the small town of Gravity Falls, Oregon. Or tried to scam tourists, that was just as common. The show ran from 2012 to 2016 and encompassed 2 20-episode-long seasons. A relic of time from before streaming ruined everything and we got 6-episode seasons every 2 years. For many, however, it felt as though this wasn't enough. And even now, 8 years after the final episode ended, there's still a sizable portion of the fanbase that not only wants a season 3, but is also convinced that one is on the way. You probably already know my opinion about this, but let's put a pin in it for now. Now, despite being a show for kids, allegedly, Gravity Falls gained a rather large audience of teenagers, young adults, and older folks because it was more than just a kids show. Not just because of society's tendency to write off anything animated as being for children, and therefore lesser, being inherently flawed, and the show having more appeal to other demographics.
I'll have you know that Ducktective has a big mystery element and a lot of humor that goes over kids' heads.
But also because it literally was more than a kids show, or even just a show in general. It was a puzzle. To give you an example of what I mean, let's start at the very beginning. Not just the first season, or even the first episode, but the opening credits. The title sequence for this show is iconic, having been parodied and riffed on for years, and... Hold on. Did you hear that? Listening closer, it kind of sounds like nonsense, but if you play it in reverse... Now, what did this mean? Well, at the end of the very same episode, after all the credits play under this... 2012 was a different era. Anyways, at the end of the credits, there was this weird string of letters, which some eagle-eyed viewers immediately recognized as a cryptogram, or coded message. One popular code in cryptography is the Caesar cipher, a system where you code a message by taking each letter in the message and replacing it with a different letter, specifically 3 letters back in alphabetical order. So if you took this message and ran it through a Caesar cipher decoder, you got the message, "Welcome to Gravity Falls." And this was just a little taste of what was to come. This isn't even the only interesting puzzle in the first episode. Obviously, there are big story mysteries like who wrote this journal? Why does Stan have a secret door behind the vending machine? Does it have anything to do with this cipher that says Stan is not what he seems in the opening credits? What exactly is the deal with Gravity Falls? But there's also stuff like this bald guy showing up in the background. Who is he? Who is this triangle guy who appears in the intro for a flash? Oh, the 2012 internet didn't know what was headed for them. Throughout the run of the show, more and more mysteries started to show up. There were ciphers at the end of each episode, odd license plates, characters who didn't quite make sense, and even more of those goddamn journals. Where did they come from? Who wrote these journals? These and more were questions that the audience was asking as the show continued its run. While the show was still a kids show on Disney Channel and thus catered to that market by having silly Monster of the Week storylines be the primary focus, these questions were still in the background. For around 3 years, some of the biggest mysteries kept getting teased and explored and slowly revealed. This wasn't very typical for animated children's TV. That is, actually having a serialized storyline and constantly shifting the status quo. Shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Danny Phantom had done it before and had done it well, but it wasn't really the norm, especially not on the Disney Channel. It's easy to forget in an age of streaming where shows will have 8 episodes and tease out over a few weeks or just to drop all at once, that shows in this era were made for television and episodes were made to be run in any order. Gravity Falls having these storylines at all was a big deal, and it became an even bigger deal when those mysteries started being paid off. Okay, so I already put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this video, but if you've watched up to this point without having seen Gravity Falls, I really recommend stopping now and watching it. It's short, it's fun, it's so worth it, and I'm about to spoil some of the show's biggest reveals. The show is only 40 20-minute episodes. That's like 14 hours in total. If you're on your 5th rewatch of New Girl, I'm sure you can make time for this. Final warning, 3, 2, 1, skip to this time code. All of this questioning comes to a head in the best episode of the show, not what he seems. Where after a tense 22 minutes where it's revealed that Grunkle Stan not only has got some kind of doomsday device, he also might not actually be the real Stanford Pines. Things get a lot more serious and tense than one would ever expect an episode of this show to get, and at the end of it all, the device activates. It turns out it's a portal, and out of the portal walks a masked figure, with 6 fingers on each hand.
What? Who is that? The author of the journals. My brother.
Is this the part where one of us faints?
Oh, I am so on it, dude.
And then the show went on hiatus for 4 months. As you can probably imagine, the fan base exploded after this.
We were right!
All of it is canon.
I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. Someone cancel the whole fandom. Panic, 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 panic. Twin theory true is Pickles.
Everyone was right? I can't believe this. The theories are true.
Please, I want off Mr. Hirsch's wild ride.
Stanley, brother, I can't even. I have lost the ability to can.
Fuck these ads!
The answer to the biggest mystery of the show brought only more questions, while also confirming a theory that Stan had a twin brother that had been floated around as early as the 3rd episode of the show and properly took hold in April 2013. This interestingly had, at the time, prompted the creator of the show, Alex Hirsch, to make a fake leak of a younger version of the character Old Man McGucket writing the journals to throw people off the scent.
So we just made a still of it, and then we put it on one of the editor's TVs in the editing bay.
Put a fake timecode stamp on it and did kind of a hidden camera kind of photo of it. And then Alex created a fake Reddit account and threw it up on the internet. And I think he let it sit there for maybe an hour or 2 or maybe a day, I don't know. Took it down and really buried it, but it got spread throughout the internet, and all of a sudden the internet now believes that. They were like, okay, thank God. Now they believe it's McGucket. Okay, they're off the scent.
Who puts forth that kind of effort for this thing? But it actually, I mean, that's part of it. There's this whole ocean of people that were thirsty for that kind of stuff, and it was just another part of all these different fun things that Gravity Falls did for the fans.
Trolling the audience by faking leaks is some king shit. It's like the exact opposite of how the Game of Thrones guys handled the audience figuring out the show's twists. Alex Hirsch is my role model. The point is, Gravity Falls established itself as a show with more layers to experience than just the text of the show itself. The show had mysteries and codes and ciphers and the like, and essentially was like a consistently running ARG throughout the whole process, and the fans loved it. But all good things come to an end, and when the hour-long finale for the show aired on February 15th, 2016, the fanbase said goodbye to Dipper, Mabel, and everyone for good. In a heartfelt showcase of, wait, what's that writing on the bus seat there? And why is there a footage of a statue of Bill Cipher in the last few seconds? What's going on here? As you've probably guessed, the puzzle wasn't quite over yet. 3 months after the show's finished, Alex Hirsch posted a strange image file of a document on his Twitter page, accompanied by the caption, "Let the games begin." This image was covered in coded messages that, once decoded, revealed the seeds for what would become to known as the Cipher Hunt, a worldwide treasure hunt for a real, actual statue of Bill Cipher that Alex had commissioned and left somewhere in the woods. Now, there are plenty of videos recapping the whole extended venture, and I definitely recommend them lest this video become too much summary by volume, though I would love to make a full video dedicated to it if that interests anyone. What matters to this discussion was that the ending of the Cipher Hunt was, to many, the true ending of the show. There were some extra canon book releases like the Lost Legends graphic novel and the official canonical printing of the Journal 3 that Dipper carries throughout the show, and there were still a few dangling threads. What happens after Dipper and Mabel leave Gravity Falls? Who is this axolotl character? And after all of this, is it possible for Bill Cipher to return? But at this point, the show was truly over, and that was how it seemed like it would be forever. Which brings us to now. So what happened in the summer of 2024? Well, it all starts with an announcement in December of the previous year. An announcement for a new literary entry into the canon of the series.
Mystic Dimension.
Almost instantly, the Gravity Falls fan spaces were alight once more, like the forges of a long-forgotten dwarven empire. Speculation about what could be in the book was everywhere, with some people theorizing that it could explain all of the unanswered questions of the Gravity Falls lore, others saying it could be a lead-up to a potential Season 3. And when the book actually came out, it turned out to be Neither of those. Rather, we got a haunting portrayal of an emotionally abusive relationship between Bill and Stanford, as well as some rather dark insights into what exactly happened to Bill in his past life. We do learn answers to some of the mysteries, like what exactly happened to Bill after he died. He was sent to therapy for eternity. I love it, no notes. We also got this thing. He haunts me. But the book also held a little secret. On one of the pages, there was a hidden URL which took you to this website with this password prompter. Oh, this seems familiar. Fast forward through some grade A sleuthing on the part of the fans, a mysterious doomsday countdown timer that broke somehow, and the character Seuss's valiant efforts to fix it, we retreated to this website interface, with some secrets to click on and explore, but the primary attraction is this computer monitor with a password input. This time, there were all kinds of passwords that could elicit a response. There were responses that were lore-heavy, silly responses, spooky responses, responses with fun cameos, and, this? This show is weird. This whole venture has been so much fun, and people are still finding new responses to input into the computer. We're getting so much for a show that's been over for nearly 10 years. However, there is a kind of cloud hanging over this venture, something that's been on the back of the minds of many, if not most of the people participating in this second cipher hunt. The same thing that's been the wish of many a Gravity Falls fan for the last 8 years. Gravity Falls Season 3. Time to pull out that pin. Now, I understand the impulse. Really, I do. Gravity Falls is one of my favorite shows ever made, in case you couldn't tell. It's so good, it's so original, it's so fresh and so short that it feels like it deserved a third season, right? Well, no. Before we continue, I just want to say that if a hypothetical Gravity Falls Season 3 was released, it probably would slurp it up like the filthy consumer I am. I crave more Gravity Falls content. I live off of it. I've been spending the last few weeks just listening to the DVD commentaries for all the episodes and calling it research for this video. I would go apeshit at seeing the official return of my favorite animated show. But just because it's something I would crave, it doesn't mean it's something that I actually want. Gravity Falls' final episode is, in my opinion, almost a perfect case study of how to end a TV show's story. Off the top of my head, only the good places is better. Practically every loose end is tied up in Gravity Falls. All the major characters have resolutions to all of their arcs. Everyone gets a happy ending, or whatever ending they deserve. But more than all of that, it's truly the only way the show could really end. One of the major themes of Gravity Falls was childhood and growing up. Dipper wants to grow up too fast, with his obsession with being taken seriously as a mystery solver and his crush on Wendy, someone who is too old for him. Mabel, on the other hand, always wants things to stay the same. She wants her and Dipper to stay kids forever, so much so that she almost ends the world over it. An action for which she is not a terrible person. She's just an average 12-year-old girl. Sorry, I just get flashbacks to that one video that made the rounds around the fandom years ago. Anyways, thematically, the best way for the show to end was for these two to meet in the middle. Dipper learns to enjoy the age he's at, and Mabel learns to embrace the future. And all that happens as they grow up and have their 13th birthday. Part of growing up is things ending, even if it's a summer vacation. Sure, there are so many places where these characters could go, but Gravity Falls was about a single summer that the Pines spent together with their Grunkle. And that summer ended. Alex Hirsch himself has gone on the record multiple times that he doesn't have any intentions of making a season 3 of the show, and never did. And honestly, I can't blame him. Whenever you listen to him talk about how he made the show, you can hear how much he really loves this world and its characters. We've seen what happens when shows or movie franchises go on past their expiration date. And even when they don't, how many times have you seen a promising show fumble its final season? Sometimes spectacularly. I can't fault him for wanting to spare his baby from that fate. Plus, I can't imagine he wants to spend another season dealing with Disney's Standards and Practices department.
Page 11. Please revise Wendy's response, "Aw, crud dang," as crud has an inappropriate slang definition.
How is this my life?
However, I do think there's a kind of have your cake and eat it too moment here. First of all, there is a difference between Gravity Falls Season 3 and more Gravity Falls. While a direct continuation isn't a good idea or even really needed in the way I described, there could theoretically be spin-offs and separate shows a la something of The Legend of Korra or Better Call Saul. Pick a select group of these cast members and mix up the dynamic. Have a Wendy and Sue spin-off about running the Mystery Shack, I don't know. While the main story is over, there's still interesting stuff you could do in this world. My camera died, I have to do this last part again. Think about it, we're still getting content related to the show through books. The Book of Bill, the Lost Legends graphic novel, the canonical edition of Journal 3, these are all canon additions to the story that gave us so much more to work with. We've got a fandom community that's alive and well, especially after the galvanization provided by the Book of Bill. We've even got more and more puzzles to solve, created by Alex Hirsch and co. Even ignoring Cypher Hunt 2.0, the Book of Bill is covered head to toe in ciphers, coded messages, and just other secrets. People are going to be deciphering this book for months, if not years. I guess my point with all of this is that Gravity Falls really is more than just a show. There's a reason I spent the first half of this video retelling fandom history, and I wasn't even really that in depth with it. I could easily make a whole video dedicated to this if you guys are at all interested. I really wanted to put into perspective how this show is everything that surrounds it as much as it is the show itself. The community of mystery lovers that practically raised me through my preteen years is still alive and well, and it's inspiring myself and others to create our own mysteries and codes and cosplays and art. And while the summer that the Pines spent with our Grunkle stan is over, that doesn't mean it won't live on in our hearts and in the community it built. I guess you really could say that the real season 3 was the friends we made along the way.